Robotech.
Remember Saturday mornings in 1985 when giant robots and impossible love triangles made you feel something cartoons weren't supposed to make you feel? Robotech wasn't just another show. It was the series that proved animation could actually break your heart and make you think about war, loss, and sacrifice in ways you didn't understand until years later. But here's what nobody told you back then. Almost nothing about this show was what it seemed, and the secrets behind its creation are darker, stranger, and more absurd than anything that actually aired on television. Characters died because of production drama you never knew existed. Entire wars happened because of TV scheduling requirements, and the weapon that saved humanity wasn't advanced technology. It was a pop concert that somehow made sense in the most ridiculous way possible. The truth is, these 10 facts will completely change how you remember your childhood. And number 1 is so mind-blowing, it brings the entire saga full circle in a way you never saw coming. Make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because once you discover what really happened behind the scenes, you'll never watch Robotech the same way again. From genetic experiments to cross-dressing freedom fighters, this countdown gets wilder with every entry. Let's start where most shows would never dare to go. Fact number 10. The Zentradi were defeated by a pop star's concert, not missiles. The most feared military force in the galaxy. 40-foot-tall warriors bred for conquest, an empire spanning thousands of worlds, and humanity defeated them with a teenage girl holding a microphone. Lin Minmay didn't need missiles or Veritech fighters. She had something more powerful: feelings. The Zentradi had been genetically engineered by Zor to be perfect soldiers, with one critical weakness programmed into their DNA: emotional vulnerability to music and human culture. The song that saved Earth, "We Will Win," was originally Zentradi propaganda designed to keep clones docile. But when Minmay sang it with raw human emotion, it triggered a catastrophic breakdown across their entire fleet. 7 million warriors experienced sadness for the first time and couldn't handle it. They surrendered. They defected. They cried. The greatest army in existence was defeated because someone finally made them feel something. It's like ending a world war with a Taylor Swift concert, except somehow more ridiculous. The Zentradi proved that sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't technology. It's empathy. But that emotional manipulation was just the surface of Robotech's chaos. Fact number 9. The entire 85-episode saga was a Frankenstein cartoon. Here's the secret that changes everything. Robotech isn't one anime. It's 3 completely separate, unrelated Japanese shows stitched together by producer Carl Macek because 1985 syndication required 65 episodes minimum. Macek had one show about transforming jets and romance, one about military conspiracy and alien invasions, one about post-apocalyptic bikers fighting bug creatures. None of these shows knew each other existed, so he invented the proto-culture, a mystical energy connecting 3 different universes across decades. He linked them through voiceover narration and creative editing, building mythology from thin air. Rick Hunter and Scott Bernard exist in the same universe only because a TV executive needed content. Your favorite characters, the ones you cried over, only met because of broadcasting requirements. It's Frankenstein's monster as animation. 3 broken pieces assembled into something that felt whole. Somehow, impossibly, it worked. Macek created one of the most beloved localization projects in history by making it up as he went. And sometimes, that chaos got personal. Fact number 8. Rick Hunter's best friend was killed by a lazy voice actor. Ben Dixon's death hit hard. Rick Hunter's wingman and comic relief gone in a single throwaway line during battle. No ceremony, no final words. Just empty space where a friend used to be. Except his death had nothing to do with storytelling. In the original Japanese Macross, Ben's counterpart survives the entire war. But the Robotech production team had a problem. Ben's voice actor was allegedly unreliable and difficult to work with. Constant scheduling conflicts, production delays, frustration mounting. So they killed him. One sentence. Problem solved. A major character's tragic demise happened because someone couldn't show up to a recording booth on time. It's the most brutally practical solution to a personnel problem in television history. Ben Dixon died because production schedules matter more than plot sometimes. The chaos behind the scenes was just as deadly as the war on screen, but at least Ben's fate was quick. The next villain situation was far more disturbing. Fact number 7. The Robotech Masters were 3-in-1 clones who needed music to stay sane. The Robotech Masters arrived like a nightmare, 3 faces sharing one consciousness, cold and calculating. But beneath that terrifying exterior was something tragic. They weren't just alien rulers. They were the result of a desperate genetic experiment by the Tyrolean civilization to create a perfect, psychically linked ruling class. The problem? The experiment worked too well. The Masters and their entire clone army were genetically unstable, constantly on the verge of psychological collapse. Their solution? The Muses, a special triumvirate of clones whose sole job was stabilizing other clones through harmonic music. Musical therapy on a species-wide scale. The most advanced civilization in the galaxy, capable of bending reality and crossing space, was entirely dependent on a choir to keep their soldiers functional, one broken speaker away from total collapse. The Masters weren't evil conquerors. They were a failing species desperately holding themselves together with the only tool they had left. It's a civilization-scale mental health crisis being treated with experimental therapy, and they were willing to destroy Earth to continue that treatment. But the Masters weren't the only ones hiding dark secrets. Fact number 6. The SDF-1 was a booby-trapped decoy sent to doom Earth, the crashed alien ship that started everything. The SDF-1 brought technology that revolutionized humanity, jump-starting an age of wonder and transformation. Except it wasn't a gift, it was a trap. Zor, the original proto-culture scientist, was horrified by what his invention had become. His energy source, meant to uplift civilizations, had been weaponized into armies of clone soldiers. So, in his final act, dying and desperate, Zor sent the SDF-1 to Earth loaded with the proto-culture matrix. He knew the Zentradi would follow. He knew the Masters would come searching. He knew it would trigger 3 consecutive wars that would devastate the planet. And he did it anyway. Earth was his last desperate gamble that someone might break the cycle of violence he'd created. Every death, every battle, every tragedy in Robotech traces back to one alien scientist's sabotage. The SDF-1 wasn't hope. It was a ticking time bomb wrapped in promise. The entire saga was built on desperation, not destiny. And speaking of unexpected revelations, the third saga had one that censors desperately wanted to hide. Fact number 5. The main character of the third saga was a cross-dressing pop idol. Yellow Belmont was one of the most popular pop stars in the Invid-occupied wasteland. Concerts that gave people hope, a voice that inspired resistance. The twist? Yellow Belmont was Lancer, a male soldier living in disguise as a female pop idol to hide from Invid forces. This wasn't one episode. This was years of sustained performance, selling records, performing shows, maintaining the illusion so completely that audiences never questioned it. The original Japanese Mospiata series fully embraced this gender-bending storyline, exploring the psychological toll of living a double life. But 1980s, American television couldn't handle it. The localization team edited dialogue and scenes, making it more ambiguous, more palatable. What remained was still fascinating. A cross-dressing pop idol fighting a post-apocalyptic war with a guitar and a rifle. Lancer used performance as both weapon and shield. Their strength came from embracing identity as survival strategy, making them one of the most complex characters in the series. Even edited, Lancer represented something rare, proof that Japanese animation was willing to go places American audiences weren't ready for. But identity wasn't the only thing censors changed. Fact number 4. The original ending of the second saga was existential body horror. The Robotech Masters saga ends bleakly, the Masters defeated, but their final gambit unleashes the Invid. Dark, tragic, but comprehensible. The original Japanese Southern Cross ending? Nightmare fuel that Karl Macek refused to let American audiences see. In the original version, the protoculture begins spreading across Earth after the Masters' defeat. And it doesn't just spread, it mutates. The surviving humans start transforming at a genetic level into the next generation of the alien race. Victory wasn't victory. It was the first stage of an invasion of the body snatchers scenario, where humanity's reward for winning was slowly ceasing to be human. Survivors would watch themselves change, knowing their children would be something else entirely. Humanity's greatest triumph was actually genetic defeat. Macross looked at that ending and said, absolutely not. He reworked it into the straightforward invid invasion, sparing audiences the existential horror of watching humanity evolve into the enemy. It was mercy editing, protection from nihilistic horror that would haunt viewers for decades. Sometimes darkness isn't in deep lore. Sometimes it's in absurd, hilarious details. Fact number 3. The Zentradi were so big, they couldn't use Doorknob's perfect soldiers. Massive, powerful, intimidating, capable of piloting ships the size of cities. The Zentradi were engineered for war. What the protoculture scientists didn't consider? Whether these giants could function in any context besides combat. Turns out they couldn't. The Zentradi were so massive they were completely incapable of interacting with normal-sized objects. Commander Britai, tactical genius and fleet leader, had to use giant tweezers to pick up a human-sized cup because his fingers were too large. Doorknobs were insurmountable obstacles. Light switches were impossible. The microwave was incomprehensible. The most feared alien race in the galaxy was functionally helpless against the simplest human technology. When Zentradi soldiers defected and tried integrating into human society, they had to be micronized, shrunk to human size, because otherwise they'd destroy everything they touched. It's hilariously tragic. The fundamental flaw of creating a warrior race. They're excellent at war and terrible at literally everything else. The Zentradi were defeated by their own over-specialization. Sometimes the greatest weakness isn't a lack of power, it's a lack of fine motor skills. Still, at least their goals made sense. The final enemy's motivation was even stranger. Fact number 2. The Invid were just trying to reclaim their garden. The Invid seemed like pure evil, an overwhelming swarm with infinite numbers and relentless aggression. An existential threat determined to wipe humanity from existence. Except they weren't evil. They were just trying to reclaim their garden. The flower of life wasn't some mystical energy source humanity discovered. It was the Invid's natural habitat, their food source, the foundation of their entire ecosystem. When protoculture scattered across space, it accidentally spread the flower of life to countless worlds, including Earth. Humanity had been unknowingly cultivating the Invid's most precious resource. From the Invid perspective, Earth wasn't a conquest, it was pest control. Humanity was an infestation destroying their garden. The Regis, the Invid leader, wasn't motivated by malice. She just wanted her species to survive in their natural environment, which humans happened to be occupying. The entire final war was essentially a massive intergalactic turf war over a giant alien weed. Environmental conflict on a cosmic scale, except nobody realized it until too late. Two species fighting over real estate neither understood, turning the grand finale into a bizarre high-stakes gardening dispute. Every death in the New Generation saga suddenly feels even more pointless, but even that strange truth doesn't compare to the most mind-bending revelation in the entire series. Fact number 1. The hero of the Second War was a living memory card. Zor Prime seemed like a tragic figure, a mysterious pilot who defected from the Robotech masters and fell in love with Dana Sterling. A soldier with no past trying to forge a future. The truth was devastating. Zor Prime wasn't just some clone. He was a clone of Zor Derelda, the original protoculture scientist who started everything. The Robotech masters created Zor Prime as a living, breathing memory card, a biological hard drive containing the secrets of the universe locked in his subconscious. They needed him to remember where the protoculture matrix was hidden. Zor Prime was literally data storage with a pulse, programmed to unlock information that could decide the fate of galaxies. But when Zor Prime finally remembers everything, when he realizes who he is and what he carries, he doesn't surrender the secrets. He sacrifices himself to destroy the Masters and end the cycle of violence his original self started. In his final moments, Zor Prime isn't just a soldier dying for Earth. He's the original Zor finally completing his mission to destroy the protoculture's corrupting influence. The entire 85-episode epic comes full circle. The scientist who doomed Earth was also the one who saved it. just separated by death, cloning, and several apocalypses. It's redemption through genetic copy, becoming someone new while carrying the weight of who you used to be, and choosing sacrifice over survival because some sins require 2 lifetimes to atone for. That single character arc justifies the entire messy, brilliant experiment that was Robotech. 10 facts that prove Robotech was more chaotic, more brilliant, and more bizarrely assembled than anyone realized. From pop concerts ending wars to voice actors killing characters through negligence, from music therapy for clone armies to heroes who were walking hard drives, Robotech was a beautiful disaster that became legendary. 3 shows pretending to be one, held together by voiceover narration and creative audacity, created by people making impossible decisions under brutal deadlines, somehow crafting something that resonated with an entire generation. The messiness made it feel real. Budget limitations forced creativity. Cultural differences between Japanese and American storytelling created something neither country could have made alone. Robotech taught us that war has consequences. Love is complicated, and sometimes the greatest stories are accidents held together by genius and desperation. Having the Zentradi defeated by a pop concert isn't just absurd, it's the perfect metaphor for the entire show. Something that shouldn't work, that makes no sense, but somehow hits you right in the feelings anyway. Just like that 40-foot-tall alien struggling with a coffee cup, Robotech was too ambitious for its own good, but memorable precisely because it tried anyway.